count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome to the G.R.I.N.D. Simon Arias here. Get ready, it's a new day. What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of the G.R.I.N.D. Get ready, it's a new day. And, this isn't a stranger to the G.R.I.N.D. topic, but we're going to talk about discipline. Discipline. Man, it's the longer I go in business or in jiu-jitsu or whatever I'm zoned in on, I realize how hard it is to be great without discipline. You can be good. I just don't know if you could play at the elite levels for a long period of time. You might be able to sniff it. You might be able to touch it real quick off of talent. But long-term lasting takes discipline. It's really hard to be great without discipline. And I think another part of why it's important to have discipline is to come in at some point in your life, you got to be intentional about what you're trying to accomplish. So that means you need to have a strategy. Just like a football coach comes into a game, they got a strategy for how they want this game to play out. They don't just show up and say, hey, we're going to wing it and play offense, defense. They have a strategy. I think people go into years all the time and they don't end up planning a strategy, half. They have no strategy for how next year is going to be better than this year. No game plan on how next year is going to be better than this year. But the other half of it is they do have a good strategy, but they don't stick to it. They lack the discipline to stick to it. So what is all this hype about? Discipline. It's discipline is doing what you don't want to do in order to get a desired result. It requires discipline. Because at some point in order to win, this is real. At some point in order to win, you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do in that process. Even people that tell you, you got to love everything that you do and you got to really, really have passion for what you do. I agree. You got to have passion. You want to like, but at some point in the game, the ones that separate themselves, they learn to fall in love with the things that they don't love. They fall in love with that process because the process leads them to the result that they want. Please listen to what I'm saying. The people that end up going to the next level, they fall in love with the process. Process is doing things repetitively over and over that you don't feel like doing in advance before you get the result. That's called the process. Like having a baby, the process of being pregnant. Like the process is the stuff you got to do continuously, consistently before you get a desired result. That stuff sometimes doesn't pay you right then and there that week, that month, that quarter, so people don't stick to it. So the process requires you to do things that aren't sexy without the initial quick response of getting something in return. And so it requires discipline for you to do the things you don't feel like doing in order to get that result. And it also helps you to refrain from doing what you should not do that you want to do. Whoa, you hear what I'm saying? Like discipline to be loyal in your relationship. Let's say things are not going well in your relationship, whatever's going on in your marriage and you're struggling. And you go out and you have some drinks and somebody starts to court you and talk to you and give you attention and you have been struggling over here. Like your physical human flesh may say, this is more fun, I want to do this. But your discipline to what you're doing makes you do what you need to do, not what you feel like doing. Because not everything that we feel like doing sometimes is what we need to do. As a matter of fact, a lot of the times what we feel like doing is not what we should do as a human. And so the struggle out there, the hardest person we're ever going to lead is ourselves. So listen, I've been there. I look back on my life and I look at some of my youth, and I'm happy to say, I've never cheated a day in my life on my wife. Proud to say that. But she's the only person in my entire life. There was things, there were just things that needed to be changed in the past that you can overcome if you start to focus on it and discipline yourself enough. You talking to somebody that's still imperfect to this day, but I look at how far that I've come by applying some discipline to my life, and it was a struggle. I didn't always like to get up early. I didn't always like to not watch the football games at night because that's the game that I love and I'm trying to unwind. And, I didn't always go to bed early. There's just this, I struggle with a lot of the same things that other people struggle with. But over time, I started to find ways to apply that discipline. And still in my life, I'm not perfect. The hardest person always to lead is going to be us. So I tell you this from an imperfect person that's growing with you, that I have the ability to coach other people. And I carry that burden constantly to just try to be the best that I could be for these people. But it's hard to be a great coach and always be liked. It's hard to find that balance because you got to do some things sometimes. You got to hold people accountable to doing some things that they don't feel like doing if they don't have the discipline to do it themselves in order to get a better result. And sometimes it's not popular. Sometimes accountability, or, you think back to some of your coaches that you loved in the past. People that made a big impact on your life. A lot of times they were coaches that made you run when it was 80 degrees and you didn't feel like running with a helmet on. It was the teacher that held you accountable to studying a little bit longer, or somebody that instilled something into you that tried to coach you at that moment in time maybe wasn't your favorite person because they were forcing you to do something that was better for you. I think as a coach, we got to do that. As a coach, to take people to a land that they want to go to. So here's the thing, is the journey is, our job as a leader is to grab somebody, take them with you, and take them to a place that is where they help them reach the destiny that they want to achieve in their life and find that place. But along that journey, you're going to have to hold them accountable. You're going to have to challenge them. You're going to have to push them. You're going to have to coach them to do some things that they don't want to do. And so you got to balance that person of giving them the coaching that they need, but not losing them in the process, because nobody really likes someone to be hard on them. So that's the art. That's the art, is that you have to be hard on people really to take them to the next level. At some point, you got to hold them accountable to their goals. You have to have some hard truths, some hard conversations. But I think you can do it and still have people love you and like you and not hate you. If, John Maxwell always says that leadership is disappointing people at a rate that they could stand. So sometimes I got to disappoint people, and I know that maybe they can't handle that rate right now, so I'm going to have to ease my delivery in and wait a little while and build that person up. A lot of it is timing. But we just got to encourage them that it's about themselves. What we're talking about is discipline. How are we helping people to be more disciplined? Well, you got to be more disciplined yourself and exemplify it. You got to exemplify what it is that you're wanting other people to do. Because if you want your organization to be successful, people in there are going to have to be disciplined. Disciplined to the process, disciplined to the game means you got to be disciplined. And we got to make decisions to be disciplined. You as a person, people on the team, we have to make decisions that is basically giving up what you want to do now for what's best for your future. Getting used to that feeling of, oh, I want to lay in my bed longer. That's what you want to do right now. That's the feeling of that. This is what I want to do right now. But it's not what's best for your future. It's not carrying you to that level that you want to go to, so you get comfortable applying discipline to get yourself to do things that you don't feel like doing when that alarm clock goes off. Or when it's time to go to bed so you can get the sleep that you need. Instead of doing some things you shouldn't be doing, you apply discipline and you go to bed. It's doing the hard things. Doing the harder things are going to give you an easier life. And doing the easier things are going to give you a hard life. Think about it. If you at some point we got to pay. Pay now and play later. Or play now and pay later. What I realized was it's cheaper to pay now. What do you mean by that? Well, the price to pay is the cheapest it's ever going to be today. The older you get, the bigger the price is. The bigger the sacrifice. It's not getting any cheaper. So if you're sitting there and you're 45 years old and you're thinking, well, I'll get that done in a couple years, the price ain't going to be any cheaper at 50 than it is at 45. The cheapest price usually is about to be right now. If we can get people to understand and be inspired and motivated by what's in it for them. What's in it for the people, what's in it for you and I, is if we can apply discipline to our life right now and sacrifice some things we want to do right now and do the things that we don't feel like doing right now. And you pay that price with discipline, then down the road, you get blessed with better whatever it is that you gave up. So if you gave up vacations, you get better vacations down the road. If you gave up eating some things and doing some things that would have been more fun or tasted better for your health, you get better health down the road. If you gave up some things so you could make some more money or you didn't spend as much money right now, then you get more money down the road. If you gave up some time right now to sacrifice and do some things, then you get more time down the road. It's the upfront doing the hard things that are going to provide you with the easier life down the road. And that's what I want for you, is the easier life 5, 10, 20 years from today. It's never an easy life. Life happens to all of us. But when you apply discipline, it's an easier life. And it gives you control. I never look at it and say, well, what if I apply all this discipline and then, this happens or whatever? Like, hey, so be it. I had fun in the game. I fell in love with the process of becoming better, trying to be the best that we can be. What's wrong with that as a goal? Just be the best you with the gifts that you've been given, the talents that we've been given. Everybody's been given different gifts and talents, but I promise you this, you have been given a gift and talents. Use them. Grow them, multiply them, do more, be more, stretch yourself. We weren't made to just be stagnant. We weren't made to just be average. We weren't made, they said in the word, it says we were made in the image of God. You were made in the image of God. Regardless of what you believe, you gotta believe that there's a bigger calling on your life. And you don't really get to see the calling come to fruition until you use the gifts and talents that you got and max them suckers out. Go all in with it. Go in. And don't worry about the payment. Just you pay your price. You pay the price. You sacrifice. You just use the gift that you've been given and go all in, go all in, go all in, go all in on that gift. Go hard. Apply discipline. And whatever you want down the road usually will come after that. But it may be delayed gratification. That's why it requires discipline. Because what you want may be here 5 years from today. It's delayed gratification, but it'll be here. One thing we know for sure is if you don't pay the price, it's not going to be there 5 years from today or 10 years from today. It's just not going to be here. That's why we say if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. And what you want requires discipline. Look at the word discipline. In it is disciple. Disciple. To be a disciple. To be a good student and carry on good virtues and things that you've learned from great people, great leaders, whether it's being a disciple for the Lord or being a disciple for your leader in the organization or being a disciple for the Browns or the Steelers, just carrying the culture and representing and doing your job to the utmost capability that you have, just and that happens through discipline. So I just want to, let's close out and I just want to encourage you to just test yourself and write down some things. Write down some things that you're saying, you know what, I need to apply more discipline in my life in these areas. And then right next to it, here's my game plan. Here's some things that I need to apply discipline to in these areas. And then right next to it, write how that's going to happen. What you're not going to do, what you're going to do. And then write somewhere down there why you're doing it. Be encouraged that so I can do this in the future, so I can have this in the future, to remind you why you're giving up things, why you're being disciplined in these areas of your life. For who? For what? What's the motive? What's the motivation? People say, oh, I'm not motivated sometimes to do things. Well, then you got to look at the motive, root word, motivation, motive. What is your motive? Find the reason why you want to do this, because there's a reason out there that you should be trying to accelerate and go for greatness. And that'll help you apply the discipline to your life. If there's anybody out there that you could think of that we can help with this message, please share the Grindcast, and we appreciate everybody sharing their time with us today. Get ready, it's a new day.
Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.